1929. Imagine being rich in the morning and broke by dinner. That's what happened on Black Tuesday in October 1929, when $14 billion vanished in hours, equivalent to $230 billion today. Why did this happen? Well, the 1920s created the perfect storm. Regular people could buy stocks with just 10% down payment. Everyone was gambling on stocks they didn't understand, and banks were playing with their customers' money. When reality hit, the market crashed hard, losing 89% of its value over 3 years. The human cost was brutal. Banks failed and millions lost their life savings. 1 in 4 Americans couldn't find work. Soup kitchens had lines around the block. A trader named Jesse Livermore made $100 million betting against the market, but later killed himself after losing everything. 1937. We have licked the Depression, boasted headlines in 1936. The stock market had doubled from its lows. Roosevelt had been re-elected in a landslide. Then came the Roosevelt recession, a 49% market crash that crushed the budding recovery like a bug. Here's what happened. The Fed, terrified of inflation, doubled reserve requirements for banks. Meanwhile, Roosevelt slashed government spending and raised taxes to balance the budget. It was like slamming the brakes and cutting the engine at the same time. The human cost was brutal. Manufacturing collapsed by 32%. Unemployment spiked from 14% to 19%. Auto workers in Detroit who'd just bought homes on credit lost everything. One factory in Ohio rehired workers in April 1937, only to fire them all again by November. What saved the economy? War clouds in Europe. When Hitler invaded Poland in 1939, military spending ramped up, and the market finally began its true recovery, proving that sometimes it takes a global catastrophe to fix economic mistakes. 1962. Imagine the President of the United States publicly attacking the nation's biggest company. That's exactly what happened in 1962 when JFK went to war with U.S. Steel over a $6 per ton price increase. My father always told me all businessmen were sons of bitches, but I never believed it until now, Kennedy fumed to his aides. The market tanked, dropping 22% in just months, the worst slide since 1929. The drama played out on national television. Kennedy's SEC chairman called Texas Gulf Sulphur executives worse than common crooks for allegedly hiding a major mineral discovery. Their stock crashed 31% in one day. Even blue-chip stocks like AT&T lost a quarter of their value. Meanwhile, a little-known investor from Omaha named Warren Buffett was buying everything in sight. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful, he'd later say. The Kennedy slide was where he test-drove this philosophy, setting the stage for his American Express coup the following year. 1973. Sorry, no gas today. That sign appeared at service stations across America in 1973 as cars lined up for blocks, sometimes waiting overnight just to fill their tanks. This wasn't just an energy crisis. It triggered the worst market crash since the Great Depression. When OPEC cut oil supplies to countries supporting Israel, prices didn't just rise. They exploded from $3 to $12 per barrel overnight. Inflation surged to 12%. The market crumbled, losing 48% over 21 brutal months. The crash was especially painful because it killed beloved stocks that people thought were bulletproof. The Nifty 50, blue chips like Coca-Cola, IBM, and Polaroid, were called one-decision stocks. Buy, never sell. Polaroid, trading at 90 times earnings, lost 91% of its value. Avon fell from $140 to $18.50. While most investors panicked, McDonald's saw an opportunity in Americans' emptier wallets. They rolled out the Egg McMuffin nationwide just as the crash hit, giving budget-conscious consumers a cheap breakfast option. Their stock recovered years before the broader market. 1987. The opening bell rang on Wall Street at 9:30 a.m. on October 19, 1987. By 10 a.m., traders were already calling their loved ones. some in tears. By closing bell, $500 billion had vanished. The Dow plunged a mind-boggling 22.6% in one day, twice as bad as the worst day in 1929. The chaos was apocalyptic. On the trading floor, paper sell orders piled ankle-deep as computers failed. The ticker ran almost 2 hours behind actual trades. Some stocks simply stopped trading with no buyers at any price. One trader described it as an hour-by-hour descent into hell. The strangest part? There was no obvious reason. The economy wasn't in recession. Banks weren't failing. But a perfect storm formed: rising interest rates, trade tensions with Germany, and a new computer program called portfolio insurance. When the computers started selling, they couldn't stop. In the mayhem, a trader named Paul Tudor Jones became a Wall Street legend. Having studied the 1929 crash patterns with his research director, Peter Borish, he had positioned his fund to profit from the collapse. Jones made $100 million that day. 1997. This crash started in Thailand when their currency collapsed overnight. Soon, the crisis spread like a virus to Indonesia, South Korea, Malaysia, and other Asian economies that had been called economic miracles. Companies that had borrowed in dollars but earned money in local currencies suddenly couldn't pay their debts. The Indonesian rupiah lost 80% of its value in just months. In South Korea, people lined up to donate gold jewelry to help the country pay its debts. The crash didn't hit the U.S. market as hard. The S&P 500 only fell about 7% before recovering. But the real story was the collapse of long-term capital management, a hedge fund run by Nobel Prize winners. They lost $4.6 billion in weeks, nearly triggering a global financial collapse and forcing a Federal Reserve bailout that foreshadowed the 2008 crisis. 2000. What does your company do? We're in the internet space. Yes, but what do you actually do? We're an internet company. This kind of exchange was enough to raise millions in 1999, when adding .com to your name could double your stock price overnight. The mania reached absurd heights. Pets.com raised $82 million in an IPO and spent $11 million on a Super Bowl ad featuring their sock puppet mascot, despite losing money on every sale. 9 months later, they were bankrupt. Webvan, valued at $8.7 billion, built massive warehouses nationwide before realizing nobody wanted to order groceries online, yet. They burned through $800 million before collapsing. When the bubble finally burst, the carnage was epic. The Nasdaq fell from 5,132 to 1,470, destroying $5 trillion in market value. Even Amazon, today's e-commerce giant, saw its stock plunge from $107 to $7 per share, a 93% drop. One Silicon Valley Ferrari dealership started accepting partial payment in soon-to-be-worthless stock options. Meanwhile, Warren Buffett was being ridiculed for missing the internet revolution. When asked why he wasn't investing in tech, he simply said, "I don't invest in things I don't understand." When the crash came, his Berkshire Hathaway outperformed the market by 59%, proving that sometimes staying on the sidelines is the smartest play. 2008. The most complicated crash in history started with something simple: people buying houses they couldn't afford. Banks were giving loans to literally anyone, no income or job required, then packaging these bad mortgages into supposedly safe investments. When housing prices fell, everything collapsed. Lehman Brothers, a 158-year-old bank, filed the biggest bankruptcy ever. The market lost over half its value, with bank stocks getting crushed even worse. The human toll was devastating. Many retirees lost everything they had saved. Lehman employees were told to clear out their desks by midnight, and in a cruel twist, some foreclosed homeowners got hired as contractors to maintain the empty houses they used to own. But a few investors like Michael Burry and Steve Eisman, from The Big Short movie, made billions by spotting the housing bubble early and betting against it. Burry's fund made 489% returns during a time when the market lost 58%. 2010, May 6, 2010, 2:32 p.m. A trader at Waddell & Reed hits sell on a $4.1 billion order of E-mini S&P futures. By 2:45 p.m., all hell broke loose. The Dow plunged nearly 1,000 points in just 36 minutes, only to recover most of it by closing bell. This wasn't your grandfather's crash. This was the revenge of the machines. High-frequency trading algorithms, which execute thousands of trades per second, went haywire. In minutes, normally stable stocks went on roller coaster rides that defied logic. The insanity was almost comical. Accenture briefly traded for 1 cent per share, down from $40. Apple traded at $100,000 per share for a millisecond. Procter & Gamble, a 175-year-old company that makes Tide and Crest, lost 37% of its value in minutes before rebounding, all while nothing fundamentally changed about the company. Years later, authorities blamed a surprising culprit, Navinder Singh Sarao, a 36-year-old trader working from his parents' suburban London home, who had modified trading software to create artificial selling pressure. He made $879,000 that day and tens of millions over years before being arrested in 2015. As one regulator put it, "We thought we were looking for financial terrorists, but it turns out it was just a guy in his pajamas." 2018. After years of calm markets, December 2018 delivered a shock, the worst December for stocks since the Great Depression. The S&P 500 fell nearly 20%, with the worst damage happening right around Christmas. The crash had multiple causes: the Fed raising interest rates, trade war fears with China, and worries about slowing economic growth. But the selling accelerated when Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin tried to calm markets by announcing he had called the CEOs of major banks to confirm they had ample liquidity, a statement that only made investors more nervous. The crash was followed by one of the fastest recoveries ever. The market hit bottom on Christmas Eve when a pension fund stepped in with a massive buy order. By April 2019, stocks had recovered all their losses. 2020, the fastest crash ever. From February to March 2020, stocks fell 34% as COVID shut down economies worldwide. Trading had to be stopped multiple times as panic selling got out of control. Oil prices actually went negative as storage facilities ran out of space. And Zoom, a company most people hadn't heard of before, became worth more than the world's 7 biggest airlines combined. What made this crash different was how quickly it happened, both the fall and the recovery. The market hit bottom just 33 days after starting to fall, then began the fastest recovery ever, powered by government stimulus checks and everyone switching to online shopping. Bill Ackman showed how crazy things got. He gave a tearful TV interview saying, "Hell is coming," and warning of economic disaster. Behind the scenes, he placed a $27 million bet against the market that would eventually net him $2.6 billion in profits, all while he publicly pushed for government intervention that would help his other investments recover. 2025. As of now, April 2025, the stock market is sliding fast. The S&P 500 is down over 11%. The Nasdaq has officially entered bear market territory, and the Dow just lost nearly 4,000 points in 2 days. Why? One word: tariffs. President Trump's so-called Liberation Day just slapped sweeping import taxes on global trade, including a 54% tariff on Chinese goods. China hit back with 34% on U.S. exports, and markets freaked out. Investors are spooked. Big names like Mark Cuban are warning this could be worse than 2008. Economists say we could see a recession, with growth dropping and unemployment rising. Will this be a correction or a full-blown crash? We don't know yet. But 2025 is proving one thing. Markets hate uncertainty, and this year, there's plenty of it. Did you enjoy this breakdown? Then please like, share, and follow for more.